There we go. There we go. Officially, good morning. Welcome out to Market Watch Group Monday Market Kickoff. You'll have to excuse me. I'm feeling a little congested this morning. Change the season cold maybe as the fall comes rolling in. My name is Scott. I'll be your host. As always, let me remind you that what we're doing is education, illustrated purposes only. Nothing we do should be intended as a recommendation to buy or sell any security or financial product. Decisions made should be at your own risk. We're not brokers, nor advisors, yada, yada. Okay. Good morning, El Jago. What are we going to do today? Let's look at the futures. Let's connect the dots. That's Monday morning. We connect the dots from Sunday's posture to Monday's trading. So we're trying to transition from market posture, how do we see things overall, to trading posture. What are we going to do now, today? What are you going to do with the trades you held over the weekend? Are you going to take new trades today? Etc., etc. All right. So we'll look at the opening futures. We'll review the economic calendar and our posture from Sunday in case you missed it. We'll think about our mindset for open trades. How do they look? How should we be managing them? Take into consideration the opening range and what trade implications that might bring us today. Review the early week opportunity list. And as we get to the end of the morning, a review of this week's trading plan section. We are on section 2 for those of you who are working through it. And then we'll go from there. All right, let's get into it. We'll start here. Inflation reports to deliver a reality check ahead of the Fed. So we have two mandates that we discuss. If you're reading this here, it says after a weak jobs report, focus is turning to the other side of the Fed's mandate. Employment and inflation. Those are the two core considerations. Employment and inflation. Stock futures rise as hopes for a jumbo. So now when you're like, "Whoa, what's the market?" Somebody made a comment over the weekend on the Circle community talking about, I'm trying to trade what I see, but it's hard to know what the market's looking at. Well, there it is. That's a big part of it, is now all of a sudden starting to price in a quote-unquote jumbo, which is anything bigger than a quarter. So if we go take a quick peek at our Fed watch, mostly people thinking 0.25%, but here you have a small chance developing, in my opinion, wishful thinking, towards a larger than just a quarter. I wouldn't bank on it, but yeah, you never know. As you look at the economic calendar, next week on the 17th is when the Fed is speaking and giving the interest rate updates. This week we have PPI and CPI from August, where there had been some lower than expected numbers reported last time, especially from PPI. Let me see if I can get this. I'm not sure why we don't have updated expectations from the PPI. I should go look at a different source. What I do have, it says zero point 0.9 dropping to 0.3. If we see that, that's helpful. If we see inflation somewhat in check as we see job numbers that are worse than expected, that could lead, right? If the Fed's like, hey, we see weakness in the employment, in the labor market, but we're not seeing increases in inflation, because if we kind of see both, that might tie their hands a little bit more. So, okay. So, not much going on Monday or Tuesday. Consumer credit, nobody cares. That comes out later this afternoon. NFIB optimism index, nobody cares. That comes out tomorrow morning. Wednesday, pre-market, we have PPI. That was where we had a big unexpected upswing last time. Then on Thursday, we have CPI. You can see the core CPI is expected to stay the same. That's here. 0.3 to 0.3, 3.1 to 3.1. CPI itself, core price index, or consumer price index, 0.2 to 0.3, 2.7 to 2.9. So there is expectation of it going higher. Just the question is, by how much? What else? Now, the futures are starting off pretty good. S&P 0.25, Dow 0.19, NASDAQ 0.4, Russell 0.4. Another big revision to jobs data is expected this week. Ooh, I didn't realize there was a potential for that to come out. Let's see what day that is. I don't see what day that's being announced. Okay. Well, is it Tuesday? Could be. What they're saying is it just sets the tone, sets the table for realization that the slowdown actually occurred even before the summer. So there you go. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Finance. Anything else that I'm missing in the news? Tell me if you are aware of something that I'm not. I'm not sure when the Supreme Court is expected to evaluate and rule on the tariffs. That could potentially have an impact on the market as well. I guess we'll see what happens there. All right, let's pop over to our futures. And let me just make sure everything is working right. 20 seconds from start. Let's see here. Kevin Hassert said there's contradictory jobs data and believe the number should be up to 200. I guess we'll see. They have a new guy in that Bureau of Labor Statistics position, but I'm a little bit suspect of one person coming out and saying that they believe there's a mistake in the numbers. That sounds more propagandist to me than that there is a basis behind that. I'm skeptical. Give me your thoughts. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, it's certainly a big task trying to gather that much information, to report the Friday after the month. That's kind of the point, right? They're like, okay, let's get all of our August data the first Friday of September. We'll get our September data the first Friday of uh, October. So if we know that's the preliminary, either A, they don't announce it for months, and then you're like, oh, we'll find out what the August data is in December. Or I'm curious if someone has a better set of data, better methods to find it out sooner. I'm all for it, but I'm also skeptical. But it's definitely become much more political. So there you go. Okay. Market started up 0.17, but basically just kind of flat, right? You can see from where we were, it's higher than the close on Friday, quite a bit lower than yet Friday's high. So, yeah, not a ton there. Let's go through our watch list and just kind of see what's cracking. Apple. If you still have a piece of Apple looks like it is just about done here. You can kind of see we had looked at a steep and fast. We looked at a little slower. And right now we're getting close to the end of when this move is. And it just didn't quite get up there. So, just, I would imagine tightening stops if you haven't already, etc., etc. I believe there are many who don't believe the numbers. The hard thing is, I'm failing to see the objective. Knowing that there's always been revisions. What's the objective of, like, is there accusations of there a deep state in the Bureau of Labor Statistics who are hiding the fact that we have more jobs? I don't know that there's what's the end game of that? Right? If you have a sense, if you're someone who's like, yeah, I don't believe the numbers, what's the objective? Because there's always been revisions down. Now, I'll be honest, like when they revised down on Biden but waited until after us, I was like, yeah, the optics for that weren't good, but they still revised it down, right? So I'm not sure. The question is how to better derive the job numbers, and that's kind of the point, right? Is you're trying to gather monthly across hundreds of thousands of companies data and compile it and then put it out the Friday after. So either you say we're no longer going to try to have that time frame and we're going to wait longer before we see the data, or B, you I don't know what the B would be. You live with it and have revisions, right? I mean, that's just kind of, I don't know, difficult indeed. Vladimir's saying I think they're not reliable now. Right? And I think unfortunately, depending on political affiliations, it will influence, right? What news are you listening to that spins why is that I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Apple. Oh, look at Apple trying to push a little forward. Archer Daniels. Okay. We'd like to see Archer Daniels start moving a little bit faster than that. So we see things at least pushing into positive. Amazon's up 1%. APH recovered a little bit from Friday's engulfing pattern, but it definitely didn't make the move that we were forecasting. AXP is on the list, actually, for a turnaround. As is BAC. Right? So if you notice, the financials is an area that we had identified as strength, and now we've got a little bit of this consolidation coming after this upswing. If we look at AXP, you'll notice that I'm changing charts from AXP to BAC, and what are you noticing? My drawn lines are holding. If I go to who else do we have in this space? Robinhood? Ooh, look at Hood. Robinhood bounced hard today. It was if you got in this trade, held through Friday, and you're sitting up here, I salute you. Well done. Well done. BTI trying to make a move off that 50. Citigroup. Now, Citi is one that tried to bounce and has gone through a little bit of a hiccup. But it's not much, right? Support's down here. I can live with that hiccup there as long as it starts to move. We're definitely seeing something in financials starting to develop. Caterpillar. I don't understand why they don't collect the data electronically. Wow, you got to think, right? Like, someone has to build that system to send the information out. These are vast projects that cost money to build, to run, to maintain. Yeah. Caterpillar stalling a little bit, maybe starting to move. CCJ, no. CELH starting to really show weakness here. It was looking pretty strong, and I was looking at this, and when it made that move, it's like, ooh, that was a little bit of maybe an exhaustion bounce, because it's really coming back down now. CLS continues to look very strong. Capital One pausing. Coinbase still down. Cisco still down. Delta. I still think that there's some consumer discretionary potentially setting up. Let's go through and look at some of these symbols that are coming out. ASML. Okay, looks pretty good. It bounced. It's kind of a choppy one. You can see that you had this drop down and then it turned. Looks okay now for sure. I don't know that the entry is what we would be looking for. We have Micron on our list. We'll look at that one. AVGO, Broadcom, gapped up on earnings on Friday, but sold off throughout the day. Now we're kind of somewhere in the middle. I think AVGO looks pretty good, but at this point, especially with it hitting this level and starting, my thought is let's see if this comes down and maybe finds a new low before it bounces again. Anytime you're coming after earnings, it's a little bit tough. Costco is kind of sitting in a... What is going on here? Oh, it thinks I want to draw something. Hold on. Okay, Costco. Yeah, Costco for me just it's struggling. You can see the sell-off all the way back down, and now we're bumping the underside of the 50. Okay, let's keep going and looking. Statistics Canada does it by phone, weekly labor survey. Businesses just give the data orally. It's easier and faster. They're pressed for time, I suppose. Yeah. We'll see what happens. There's a new person in charge. We'll see if they announce a new methodology or implement new mechanisms to try to establish trust in the numbers. We'll see. I would love it. Better, faster data. I'm all for it. I am all for it. Where was I? Feel like I was in the D's. Delta? Setting up. DoorDash was kind of in one of these basing type patterns right here. Seems to be trying to accelerate out of it, but it's tough. Not a ton of momentum. In case you weren't here on yesterday, real quickly. Nope. Real quickly. Here's where we ended up. Flat. I for me, my sector rotation score increased by 1/4 point, and my VIX score decreased by 1/4 point, leaving me at the exact same place. And this is where, where it's easy to sometimes be like, oh, well, this is going on and this is going on, but we haven't seen it yet. Let me jump down. Let me jump down to the SPY. So it's holding up. But if you notice this trend, same trend we've been on. We actually slowed the trend down a little bit last time. We were moving this way. We were kind of moving like this, and then all of a sudden, it seems like we're moving like this. Just a little less incline. Just a little less incline. So it's still bullish, but not quite as much. When we look at long term, looks fine. Looks like it's been looking. Scored the same. When we looked at the volume, we scored this a tie because by the time it finished, it was barely lower than it was at the previous day. And now we're still stuck in the middle. So I feel like that makes sense. We actually didn't draw our line of consolidation. But my line of consolidation, if I were starting here and ending here, bullish slope, 0.25 makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? I think it's interesting. Okay, let's go back. The question is, where are the trades going to come from this week? EA, not feeling it. EXPE, just kind of grinding around up here. Not much developing there. Ford. Oof, look at Ford. Ford was one I was kind of hopeful for. We had this pullback here. Finding some support. It's still at that support this morning. But it's not great to see Ford down 1.25% when the rest of the market's sort of stable and slightly bullish. I had some hope for that one, but not quite yet. Futu. It's just kind of chopping around. Same thing. We had this pullback. Tried to go, but it's just sitting a little bit. Not seeing a ton of consistency. GE. Gold still pushing higher. That's an interesting one to me, to see gold moving that way. Google just keeps on going. I got a windfall on this trade and ended up closing, and then it just keeps on going. So is anybody holding on to some Google? Well done if so. Goldman looks like it could. You can see we had this little back and forth, and now it's still just trying to come up out of this. I would say there's some viability there. Hasbro. Consumer discretionary, but our consumer discretionary stocks today are struggling a little bit. There's Hood making its move. Very strong today. Howmet. Trian. IBM. So IBM is all of a sudden trying to turn into something like this. Possibly on the next move down. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Intel still chopping around. Small caps down a little bit today. Levi. Okay. There's another one in the consumer discretionary space that I think looks good. Nice trend. New higher high. Small pullback setting up. There's something maybe there developing for us. Lumentum. Again, we barely found it, and I did not take that initial trade, and then this was just a one-day pullback. Those are tough. I definitely want to trade this thing. Las Vegas Sands. If it can stabilize, I need to do it pretty soon. You can kind of see we're getting close to this old basing pattern here. I'd like to see that turn if it's going to turn, but I definitely think there's a potential trade developing there. Meta catching up with Google maybe a little bit. Now this if you feel like the Google is going to help, this one could be a continuation trade where you're like, I'm still early enough in here. But rather than a stop down in this area, you're thinking, hey, this is already moving. I could put my stop below yesterday's Heikin-Ashi low. That's still 23 points. Do I feel like this has 40 points ahead of it? To get a 2-to-1, I would need it to get to 800. If I were to enter now, stop underneath this day, I would need it to get to about 805, 800 to 805. Yeah, I think that actually would be... You can see a couple of these. And that puts you right around 805. So maybe a 2-to-1 continuation trade there. Morgan Stanley. Kind of pausing a little bit, but I still think that there's some momentum available in financials. Microsoft is down. Micron. I mean, it's trying, but it's choppy. It's a little overextended. Where are the trades going to come from this week? Netflix moving around a little bit. NOC. We've taken out this previous low here, but we're still above the 50. I would actually consider this still viable as long as it stays above the 50. NVIDIA turning. Pagaya, no. PLTR. It's just a lot of it's in these basing patterns right now. Looking like that. QQQ, bullish, but a little bit overextended. Roblox. Okay. So I feel like Roblox broke this, made this move, and now it's flagging. This is a mover. I would actually definitely consider this breaking out of that flag or taking a higher low bounce. So I would put Roblox on my list. Reddit. Look at Reddit making that late move. It chopped around for a little bit on us, but ultimately all we had to do was just shift our expectations just a few days to the right, and now we've made it back to the old highs. If you're in this still and you haven't, you might take a little profit as we touch that high. And then see if it has the ability to keep on going. RF. Strong. I like this one. Made this new high in its consolidation now. I think there's a possibility for a financials. I would say financials and technology. Consumer discretionary today is not showing us that much. Let's see. Rocket Lab, not doing much. Trying to bounce. It's a volatile stock. Made this move, pulled back. I guess you would actually consider that viable. If you're in it, you like it. If you're not, you're deciding, do I take a volatile entry? I'm reluctant for a new trade. Silver pushing new highs. SoFi still chopping around. Again, financials it's loitering, it's lingering, it's there, but it just isn't showing us much consistency to actually give us the signal. SPY is up marginally. TME still holding this support level. As long as this support level holds, there's a potential there. But if you've been sitting in this thing, it's killing you in time. For me personally, I closed back in here when this rolled over. And now I'm thinking, hey, would I trade this bounce? Yes. Absolutely I would. I still think there's a good trade developing here. Tesla still moving higher. TSM. I would say TSM, for me, broke out of this consolidation. Even had a good volume day on one of them right there. Now what? Well, I'm waiting. Even if it goes a little higher, I'm waiting for this to come back and then say, now we can maybe establish a new trend, a new one of these. Is what we're hoping for, right? Is a new trend coming out of this consolidation. Uber back up $1.50. Okay, looks like it's trying to make that bounce off the 50-day moving average. UUP flat. Visa flat. How's the VIX look today? What's our concern with the VIX? So I'm a 5.25, so I'm looking for bullish trades. But one of my primary concerns coming out of yesterday is what's going on here. And that is, we bounced up, tested up at this new high, higher than this one. Now we've come back down and we're establishing what looks like it might be a higher low. Now it's holding for now, but if I see something like this, what's my trade alert going to be? My concern, hedge. Thank you, press. Press through it out there. I'm definitely concerned about that escalation, right? It tends to be subtle. The institutions tend to be subtle as much as they possibly can. And yeah, that is certainly something I'm on the lookout for. If this shows up, I'm also going to be tightening up stops on other things that are bullish, that are still lingering, that are still out there. So be aware of that. Walmart. I would trade Walmart on a pullback. It made it through this little consolidation. It busted out of it. Now what? Anything that looks like this, yeah, I'm here for it. David said, take a look at these. Let's see. DocuSign. That was a pandemic favorite. Yeah, I agree with that. On this pullback after earnings, you can see that the trend is here. Trying to do this. It got up on that earnings. Earnings exceeded expectations, I would assume. Smashed it. Looking for 18, they got 92, gapped up, but did not hold. So there are some guidance concerns. But if it pulls back, it stabilizes in here and then starts to bounce. Yeah. What's next? I don't know. Maybe something through here. I wouldn't think these old highs yet. It's got to work its way up, but maybe it gets up to this 8750 to this area, then pulls back, and then makes the next move. That's how it would. I like that. Some profit taking would be expected. I agree. DocuSign. What else we got here? KHF. I'm not familiar with. Whoops. Is that right? KHF? Can't find the symbol. Tell me the company that one is. Microchip. MC. You thinking MicroStrategies? No. Micro KHC. Oh, Kraft Heinz. Yeah. I was wondering if that was Kraft Heinz. I thought they had changed their symbol at some point. Kind of just lackluster, right? It started to try to reverse things through here. And then it just sort of fell through it, broke its basing pattern to the downside, and now seems to be rolling back down. You can see what happens when we break the basing patterns the wrong way. Okay. Yeah, it's we're maintaining a bullish posture, but right now I think we've got to be pretty careful with where we're going to look for trades. I do see some things setting up. Nothing stands out today. We're not going to force. We're going to be watching. But maybe we see a few things in there. I thought I saw something about Heinz last week, or is it a divestiture? Is it that they're splitting Kraft and Heinz? I read something about it, press. If anybody knows, let me know. I thought I heard something about it, like they're like breaking it off, and it's gonna be like Kraft on one side and Heinz on the other. Yeah, I mean, ketchup on one side, cheese on the other. Makes sense. They are splitting. Okay, thank you, Dottie. That's what I thought I heard. So I guess we'll see what happens with that news. Yeah, be patient, you guys. I don't see anything that's like, oh, you got to jump in now. Manage what you have. Mind your profits. Don't let losses mount up. Be careful with entries. We'll see some inflationary data come later this week that we think is going to influence the Fed, but yeah, it's a bit choppy out there. So be careful. Manage your risk. We'll see what alerts come out. I'm thinking maybe like a couple of neutral trades, calendar spreads, things like that possibly coming out. That might be interesting. So let's keep our eyes out. Keep your eyes on the alerts. Remember that there are no more Monday evenings. It's now Tuesday morning. So I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Stephen D said he's still waiting on that calendar spread. Ooh, challenge accepted. The conditions seem to be pretty good. Let's go back to the VIX one more time. We're sitting down at these 15 level. It's a little higher than I would want, but maybe that could come. So we'll see. Don't forget section 2, market posture. Define, refine, make sure you have a real strong sense of what you're doing with that. And then tomorrow we'll meet in the morning, and then we'll have our working sessions in the evening. We will figure this out together. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, happy trading.